Imagine standing beneath a sky that suddenly comes alive with waves of green and purple light, dancing across the Arctic heavens. That's the magic people chase when they travel to Norway in the dead of winter, all for a glimpse of the elusive northern lights. But is the freezing cold, sleepless nights, and endless waiting truly worth it? In this video, I'll take you behind the scenes of my unforgettable journey to the north, and reveal whether the hunt for the Aurora Borealis lived up to the hype or left me in the dark. Today we will talk about chasing northern lights in Norway. Was it worth it? So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Planning the journey to the Arctic Circle. The first step in chasing the northern lights in Norway is planning. Norway is a vast country with several prime spots for aurora viewing, including Tromsø, Alta, the Lofoten Islands, and even Svalbard. I chose Tromsø as my base after extensive research. Situated above the Arctic Circle, Tromsø offers not just good aurora chances, but also a vibrant culture, decent infrastructure, and accessibility by air. I booked my flights early to get a better deal, paying around $350 for a round trip from Oslo to Tromsø. Accommodation was not cheap. Tromsø is a popular destination and prices reflect the demand. I stayed at a modest guest house that cost me about $120 per night. Understanding the aurora forecasts. Before I embarked on this trip, I had a simplistic understanding of the northern lights. I assumed they appeared nightly and lit up the sky like clockwork. Reality was far different. The aurora is affected by solar activity, cloud cover, and light pollution. I spent hours studying aurora forecasts, learning about KP indices, solar wind speeds, and magnetometers. Websites like the Norwegian Meteorological Institute became part of my daily routine. I also downloaded several apps to keep an eye on real-time data. Still, even with all the data, it became clear that seeing the lights required luck and patience. First night disappointment. My first night in Tromsø was a humbling experience. After suiting up in multiple thermal layers, I joined a guided Northern Lights tour. The guide drove us to a remote area about 2 hours outside the city where light pollution was minimal. The temperature was well below freezing, and standing in snow up to my knees, I waited with high hopes. Hours passed. Clouds moved in. The sky remained silent and dark. At around 2 a.m., our guide finally admitted defeat and we returned. I felt disheartened. Was this going to be how the trip would go? The waiting game. The next few days were a mixture of sightseeing and keeping one eye on the sky. I explored Tromsø during daylight hours, visiting the Arctic Cathedral, Polaria Aquarium, and taking the Fjellheisen cable car up Mount Storstenen for panoramic views. Despite the beauty of the region, my heart remained focused on the aurora. Weather apps became my constant companion. Sometimes I would set out alone at night, driving a rented car into dark wilderness, hoping for a break in the clouds. Some nights I saw nothing. Other nights there were faint glimmers, like smoke trails in the sky, but not the vibrant display I had imagined. The magic finally appears. On the fourth night, everything changed. The aurora forecast showed a TP index of 4, skies were expected to be clear, and the solar activity looked promising. I joined another small group tour that evening, and we drove even further out than before. Around midnight, a guide shouted to look up. What I saw is hard to describe without sounding overly dramatic. A pale green arc stretched across the sky, and within minutes it exploded into waves of motion. Green, pink, and even hints of purple danced like curtains in the wind. The entire sky became a moving canvas, and the snow-covered ground reflected the lights in a ghostly glow. I stood in silence, overwhelmed by the surreal beauty. Time seemed to slow down. Cameras clicked, people gasped, and some even cried. I was lucky enough to witness one of the most powerful auroral displays that season. The show lasted almost an hour before slowly fading into the darkness. The emotional impact. Seeing the northern lights was more than just ticking off a travel goal. It was emotional. There is something deeply humbling about watching a cosmic phenomenon unfold above your head, knowing it has nothing to do with human effort or control. It felt like nature's own version of fireworks, completely untamed and wild. After days of uncertainty and failed attempts, the moment felt even more powerful. It made the cold, the waiting, the cost, and the frustration worth it. I remember thinking this is not just a beautiful sight, but a reminder of how small we are in the grand scheme of the universe. The practical challenges. However, not everything about the trip was romantic or magical. The cold was severe and unforgiving. Despite wearing insulated boots, my toes often went numb after a couple of hours outside. Photography was also challenging. Capturing the lights requires a decent DSLR or mirrorless camera, a tripod, and the right settings. I had to learn on the go, adjusting ISO levels, shutter speed, and aperture in complete darkness. Even then, the results often fell short of what my eyes had seen. It made me appreciate the skill behind all those stunning Aurora images online. Another practical concern was food. In northern Norway, restaurants and grocery options are limited and expensive. I often ate simple meals or packed snacks to save on costs. Cultural enrichment beyond the lights. What surprised me most was how much I learned about Sami culture, the indigenous people of northern Norway. During one of the tours, we visited a Sami camp, learned about their traditional way of life, and even fed reindeer. It added a human element to the trip that I hadn't expected. It reminded me that these regions are not just remote tourist destinations, but homes to people who have adapted to the harsh environment over centuries. Their stories of resilience and harmony with nature were just as powerful as the Aurora I had come to chase. The financial reality. There is no sugarcoating it. Chasing the northern lights in Norway is expensive. Between flights, accommodation, guided tours, food and gear, I spent close to $1,800 for a 6-day trip. And that's with careful budgeting. Some travelers may find cheaper alternatives in places like Iceland or Finland, but Norway offers perhaps the best combination of high Aurora activity and accessibility. Whether or not it is worth it financially depends on what you value. For me, the experience was priceless, but I also understand that the same amount of money could fund multiple trips elsewhere. Reflections on patience in nature. One of the most important lessons I took away from the trip was patience. The Northern Lights do not operate on a schedule. They don't appear just because you paid for a tour. Nature runs on its own time, and sometimes you need to align your expectations with that reality. I learned to slow down, to observe, to wait. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, the Aurora taught me the value of earning an experience. That hour under the shimmering sky will stay with me forever, not just for what I saw, but for what it made me feel: gratitude, awe, and deep connection to the natural world. Was it worth it? So, was it worth it? 1,000 times yes. But not just because I saw the Northern Lights. It was worth it because the journey reminded me that the most meaningful experiences often require effort, discomfort, and uncertainty. The beauty of the Aurora lies not only in its color and motion, but in its elusiveness. You cannot buy it, demand it, or predict it with full certainty. That makes it all the more special when it does appear. Norway provided not just a backdrop, but an immersive environment where nature and culture come together in a breathtaking dance. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment and click the button to subscribe.